Hello, everyone. We are going to kind of gather everyone back around to get started within our next session. So I know everyone's having fun mingling, buying clothes. I hope everyone's had really fun in the breakout groups. But we are going to kind of gather back together. And before doing so, we are going to do a little stretch session, nothing crazy. And if you're wondering who this is speaking on stage about stretching randomly, I'm Emily, owner and founder of Dairy Girl Fitness. I hosted the workout this morning. I'll be doing another one tomorrow morning. It was honestly really fun. If you were thinking about joining, I definitely recommend joining. But I know through all of the learning, all of the engaging with everyone and other women, we've been sitting a lot. And I know after sitting, we like, hey, let's get some movement in. And so I just wanted to do a few quick stretches to get the blood flowing again, kind of get everyone on their feet. And again, nothing crazy. I know we're all in kind of like business casual wear. I'm wearing cowgirl boots, tight jeans. We're not going to do anything crazy. So first things up is if you have water with you, I recommend taking a sip of water, as honestly, we're all probably drinking a lot of coffee, probably not a lot of water. So that is first up. Hydrate yourself. I see some ladies sipping their water. I really do mean it. Get some water in. Get your hydration in. And then once we're through with that, first up, we're going to start with a stretch that we can do while sitting, and then we're going to get up and stand. So we're going to start with a spinal twist, and it sounds kind of scary. It's really not. It's just the best way to call it, something simple. So basically what that is we're going to be sitting on our chair, and I want you to take, let's start with our right arm, grab the back of your chair, and we're just going to twist, and this is really going to feel good in your lower back area. We're going to hold this for 15 seconds. You can stretch your neck looking that way as well. This is just going to feel really good, releasing some of that pressure in that back, in that neck. And now we're going to swap to the other side for another 15 seconds, using your left arm, really pulling yourself back in that chair, stretching. Again, looking backwards as well with your neck if you would like to get a fuller stretch. And now we're going to stand up. And none of these, again, are over the top. It's just good to stand, get some movement in. You can shake it out if you want to, do a little dance, do a little wiggle. But we're going to start with a neck stretch. So basically, just grab your head and pull it to one side. We're going to hold that for 15 seconds. This is just going to feel really good. Again, letting out some of that tension, as I'm sure we've all been slouching a little bit. We've all been looking forward. 5 more seconds on this side. And now we're going to swap to the other side. Hold that for 15 seconds. Take some deep breaths while you're doing this. Deep belly breaths. Really just allow yourself to stretch, kind of relax. Again, get some blood flowing. We're going to do, all right, so that's 15 seconds there. Now we're going to do some neck, head circles, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do 3 each way. So just start going one way, do 3. And you can probably hear your neck cracking. Mine's cracking as I do this, and it feels really nice. And now we're going to swap and do 3 on the other side. And 1 more. All right, so I got kind of dizzy doing that, not going to lie. And now we're going to do some shoulder rolls. We're going to do shoulder rolls going backwards because, again, I know we've been slouching a little bit, so get really big, exaggerated movements. Do 10 of those. I've done 3. Get your arms into it if you'd like. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and we're going to do one more thing with the arms, then we're going to do just 2 lower body things, but we're going to do arm circles. So make sure you're not going to slap anyone next to you. Give yourself a little bit of space. We're going to do 5 backwards. We're going to do big, and if you have a jacket on, you're like, I don't want to rip it, that's cool too. But if you can, do 5 big circles back, both arms. And now we're going to do 5 forward. This is fun. Looks like everyone's trying to fly. 5 forward. You can do more if you'd like. And honestly, just kind of shake it out now. Just do this. This always feels really good for me. Just getting that lower back moving. It's also just fun to watch everyone do this from up here. Okay, now we're just going to quickly do 2 lower body things. We're going to do 10 butt kicks, and we're not going to jump. What I basically mean is just go like this, and you're just stretching out the quads, again, getting the feet movement. Do 10 of those total. So I'm on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And do a few more if you'd like. I know it feels good for my quads. And now, to end it, we're again gonna kind of stretch this back half. We're gonna stretch our lower back, stretch our hamstrings. Basically, this is just gonna be a forward fold / hamstring stretch. So all I want you to do, literally just like plop over, just hang. And if you'd like, you can reach for the floor, you can grab your feet, you can even like kind of cradle your elbows and lean forward. And we're gonna do this for 30 seconds and really just try to kind of let yourself go and let some of that tension out, let some of that stress out. And we're just gonna hang here. It's gonna feel really good in your lower back. It's gonna feel really good in your hamstrings. It might kind of hurt a little bit, sorry if it does. But we're gonna do this for about another 10 seconds. And really challenge yourself. If you want to get stretched, try to put your hand on the ground. I can't in these boots. I'm a little too high. I can't touch the ground right now. We're going to do 5 more seconds. All right. All right, that's our little 5-minute stretch. Yay! Hope everyone enjoyed it. Wiggle, dance a little bit if you need more blood flowing. But next, I'm going to be handing the mic over to Laura, and she's going to be introducing and talking about our next session, which I know is going to be fabulous, and I'm very excited to hear more about it.
Thanks so much, Emily. Awesome. What an amazing resource member, like shared inspiration we have with Dairy Girl Fitness and Emily Shaw. Let's give her one more round of applause. She brings so much energy. Every time she interacts with us and with many of you as individuals, that is what you can expect. And I just want to say also that she always makes me feel like where I am in my own fitness journey is good enough. And that as long as like we're doing something, like it's just so positive. Thank you so much, Emily, for doing that for so many of us. Really great. And I'm actually going to switch mics. It is my honor to introduce the moderator for our next session. And I just want you to know that Connie Kuber is one of the people who is just so near and dear to my heart. Every interaction I have with her, it becomes not just a feeling of support. I really feel this amazing connection and she cares. Connie Kuber cares so much about the people that she gets to work with and about all of you and this organization, and we are so incredibly blessed to have her. So this next session that Connie will be moderating is called Pulling Up Roots, Taking Risks and Facing Change. And so many people in the room, we've already heard stories about that. So many of us, so many of you are facing change. And that's why we think that this is going to be a dynamic and important conversation. This session is sponsored by Seal Pro Silage Barrier Films, which is the company that Connie owns and operates. So I'm just going to read the bio because I'll forget something if I don't. Connie Pearson Kuber of Clovis, California, grew up on a Minnesota registered Holstein farm, and she makes her living in ag, and it is her lifelong work. Connie and her husband, Ron, founded Connor AgriScience to bring farmers new science, emphasizing forage making and management. They introduced silage barrier films to the Western U.S. nearly 20 years ago. In 2015, to better serve their customers, they developed, sourced, and branded their own Seal Pro film, which is North America's fastest growing oxygen barrier. I am a total silage nerd, something maybe you didn't all know, and so I totally geek out on all this stuff, and I love so much that they are helping so many farmers do better with their forage because it's the most important thing when it comes to milk production. Anyway, editorial comment. Connie's experiences in brand development, global genetic marketing, and freelance writing gave her a unique, broad view of animal ag. She is a professional animal scientist through ARPAS, a member of the Clovis FFA AgriScience Advisory Council. She volunteers with the North American Intercollegiate Dairy Challenge, and she played an important role in developing the Bolson Safety Foundation. And farm safety, especially silage safety, is something that Connie is so incredibly passionate about. And I truly believe that the work Connie is doing has saved lives and will save lives. Connie and Ron have 3 children, all who have followed an agricultural or entrepreneurial life path. And so without further ado, I want to thank Connor AgriScience and Seal Pro Silage Barriers, and most of all, I want to thank Connie Kuber for everything that she does for Dairy Girl Network and welcome her to the stage.
Are there any other Eric Clapton fans, huh? Come on, yeah. We love him. You can change the world. Yes, you can. You can. I almost hate to use a mic because I love to yell, but, you know. Well, welcome to Pulling Up Roots, Facing Change and Taking Risks. First of all, Ron would be really mad at me if I didn't do a Seal Pro Silage Barrier Film commercial. So here it goes. Are you ready? All right. So our seminar today is sponsored by Seal Pro Silage Barrier Films. Make more, better, safer forages and high moisture grains with Seal Pro. With Seal Pro, there's no surprise. Our 5-point quality assurance promise is exclusive to barrier films. Point number 1, which no one else does, is we quality test our silage film in a third-party lab. We don't just buy what our manufacturer says as far as strength, puncture resistant, and oxygen barrier. Should I do that again? All right. This is the best silage film in the world, believe me. Anyway, not all silage barriers are the same. And if you come to my booth, I'll show you what bananas tell us about silage barrier film. Spoiler alert, if you don't have barrier in your silage film, the bananas turn brown and they're not very nice to look at or smell. So, but wait, we don't just sell plastic. We have silage programs for our customers. We do a lot of work in silage safety. And if you stop at my booth, I'd love for you all to go home with one of these. It's a coloring book. It's for kids. It's for family members. It's for employees. You can run a great tailgate meeting with this little piece right here. We've sent out over 40,000 silage safety coloring books to 4-H groups, FFA groups, extension groups, farm bureaus, and we'd love to send some to you too. Just contact me at our website, www.sealprosilage.com. Now, at the end of every ad, there's something that goes really fast, right? So here we go. Seal Pro is owned by Connor AgriScience. That's me, my husband Ron, and our daughter Madeline. Our family introduced oxygen barrier to the West many years ago and branded Seal Pro ourselves 6 years ago to better serve the dairy industry. We ship anywhere. Use a contractor, ask for Seal Pro by name. More, better, safer, and no surprises. That's Seal Pro. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. All right. So pulling up roots doesn't have to mean a physical move. A lot of times, pulling up roots, facing change, taking risks, is all right here. I have 3 women today who have a very diversified background. They are very, very different from each other. But all 3 of them have taken incredible risks and faced change and been successful at it. And we might even hear about some days that were a little rough for them. So you're going to learn their story, learn how they make decisions, learn what goes on in their mind, and how they tolerate and celebrate risk. So hopefully today you'll leave with more confidence and with a more higher tolerance of risk, and you'll welcome change with open arms. So here, let's get started. First, I would like to introduce Rosario Ibarra. Rosario manages a 3,300 cow herd. She moved in 2012 from Mexico. Yes, please, join me. So here's Rosario. Stephanie Nash is a dairy farmer. She's a singer-songwriter, and she's an advocate for ag from Chapel Hill, Tennessee. And you might have heard this young lady talk yesterday. Her name is Lindsay Loken, and she's from Wanamingo, Minnesota, where her butcher shop is, and she's got an incredible story to tell. She owns her own locker. So let's welcome her to the stage. All right, very good. Have a seat, ladies. I want you right there. Oh, I got to get my tablet. I don't do this very often, so I'm not that good at it. Okay. All right, can everybody hear me? You talk. Can everybody hear you?
Check.
Yeah.
Check. Check.
Super, we're in business. All right. Okay, so first of all, we're going to just talk a little bit about ourselves, our journey of where we've been, and some of the things that we've done in our lives. Slide, please. Oh, there we are. That's little Connie Pearson. She's with Princess Kay of the Milky Way. You know, how many gals here from Minnesota wished they could have been Princess Kay of the Milky Way? Oh, there's more than one of you. Come on. Every little girl wants to be Princess Kay of the Milky Way. So that was me. I grew up on a little dairy farm. We had 25 cows in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, just outside St. Paul. And when I was 9, we moved to Lake City, Minnesota. And that's me milking cows. That's our fancy-dancy cow, Cleo. Isn't that funny how you remember those cows' names after all these years? But that's Cleo. And I graduated from the University of Minnesota with an agriculture journalism degree. It was the second year. I was the second class they ever had. Jean Annexted. Where are you, Jean? Where is she?
Right here.
Oh, there she is. We were in school together, but she's a little younger than me, so she was in ag journalism too, and we've done a lot of writing together. So I moved to California, which was a big deal because when I graduated from college, you know, moving all the way, well, halfway across the country was huge. I'm the youngest of my family, and now being a mom myself, I can only imagine how hard it was for my parents to say, yeah, move to California, sure, go ahead. But they were very, very gracious about it. And I'll never forget the day that I talked to my dad about it and made my final decision to go to California. And he said, you know, Connie, you can always come home. So I am very appreciative of the positive encouragement that they showed me to go ahead and go to California, try it out. And I was only going to be there a couple years, you know, have a great time, live in California, sit in the sunshine, go to the beach, all that kind of stuff. But lo and behold, I married that guy that's in the middle of that picture right there. That's Ron Kuber. So I met him at World Dairy Expo, actually, and it's always a fun thing to tell people where you met your husband when it's at World Dairy Expo, especially if they don't have anything to do with dairy, because I met him in front of the Minnesota Valley Breeders booth. And then people say, oh, what's that? And then you tell them, and oh my gosh. So anyway, so we got married. We'll be married 40 years, on which we still do. We worked with Lallemand on silage. We learned a lot from Bob Charlie, from Lehman Kung, those kind of people. And then a few years ago, I don't remember what year it was, we were approached by a company to sell oxygen barrier, which we did, and then we moved along, and to, like Laura had said, to better serve our customers, we branded our own film. Who'd have thought, you know? Who'd have thought that these two people would do that. So we've built our own brand. We've done all the work. We work 24/7. There's been times that when Ron and I take a walk in the back of our piece of land there, the neighbor will call and say, "Are you and Ron getting along okay? Are you all right?" Because there's a lot of yelling and screaming that goes on when you guys are walking back there. And yeah, well, we're fine. Next slide, please. We have those 3 lovely children, and that guy in the back there with the black vest on, that's my dear son-in-law, Kyle Perry. But that's Catherine that he's sitting next to with the brown turtleneck on there. She's a great, wonderful girl, went to Purdue and has never been home since. The gal in the white sweater, that's my Madeline. She's our smallest one, but she's actually almost 6 foot tall. She's the tallest one in our family, but she is our smallest one. And she is the Madeline who does all the incredibly difficult work of finance and logistics for Connor AgriScience and Seal Pro. And then that handsome young man sitting in front is my dear Christopher. And Christopher, he is a baseball coach. He's played baseball all his life. He played baseball in college. He's got a master's in coaching, and he's the pitching coach at Thousand Oaks High School in Thousand Oaks, California. So that's my whole family. Keep going. Next slide. Oh, so here's what we do. So if anybody ever tells you that Connie Cooper doesn't get up on a silage pile and sample silage, you can tell them, nope, I've seen pictures of her and she didn't look real good doing it, so there she is. Yes, I've slung tires and I've tied tires and I've took samples and I've been in choppers and I've done all that stuff. But, and we also do a lot of trade shows, and here I am with Stephanie Nash at the NCBA at our booth. But I also find balance in working with my little Labrador, Grace. So Gracie is 3 years old, and I do AKC dog obedience and rally with her, and I've been doing some scent work with her, which is really fun. So she's kind of my outlet. And then that other picture is the person I aspire to be someday, and I love to sail, and I'm certified to charter anywhere in the world, and someday I hope to do that all the time. So that's who I am. Let's go on. Rosario, introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Rosario Ibarra, but my real name is Maria del Rosario Ibarra Patiño. So Rosario Ibarra is better. I am born and raised in Mexico. I moved to the U.S. in almost 10 years ago, on December 8, 2012. So I was 29 at that time. I'm almost 40 now. And all my family is in Mexico. I have my parents. My dad is a retired teacher, and my mom is a stay-at-home mom. And I have 2 brothers, younger than me. They are in the picture. They love selfies and all that stuff. So that was before the virus. I went to visit them, and we don't have a lot of opportunities to be all together. My youngest brother is almost finishing law school in Mexico, and he's younger than me. Alberto, he works at customs on the Mexican border, checking what goes into Mexico, not what is coming to the U.S., thanks God. And he also is a certified K9 handler, with the dogs and all the stuff. So very proud of my brothers and my family, and they're always there for me. And as you say, if something fails, they say, well, you can come back, right? So I was born in a small town in the central part of Mexico. You can see in the picture, I can see how many miles away from here, but really, really, really far away. That's a picture of the main church at my hometown. I think I have another.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Oh, okay, yeah. So I am an agronomist, and I also have a master in business administration. I did all that in Mexico. I also have the opportunity to do an internship with UW-Madison when I was in college. Also went to Argentina for 1 semester to learn and to have a lot of fun. When I was in college, I had the opportunity to apply for to do my professional practices, and I was selected to go to Wisconsin and to work in a dairy farm during the summer. And that farm was Gold Star Farms, located in New Holstein, with Deb Reinhardt. Probably a lot of you know her. She has been my mentor for several years, and that was the first time that I saw a cow in my life. So I was like, okay. I obviously did not speak any English at all, so I spent several hours without food and water because I was so afraid to open my mouth, but then I was hungry, so I figured out how to. I graduated, and then my first job was to work with a company in Mexico that was just getting ready to start importing products, feed additives for dairy cows from Wisconsin, from Manitoba. That company is Priority IAC. So the American company, the Mexican company was the translation, Prioridad Lechera. So I started to work with them in Mexico, and I was in Prioridad Lechera for around 5 years, and I learned a lot. My boss was one of the best nutritionists in Mexico, and I learned a lot, not about nutrition, but I did a lot in the companies, and we realized that we need to have bank accounts to give checks, so we have to go to the bank, open accounts, all that stuff from scratch. And then there was a moment when I realized that I need to make a change in my life, and other personal stuff was happening. And I called the company here, Priority, and asked if by any chance they have something for me. They say no, not at that moment. And then I was like, well, I need to look for something else. And I was debating where I should go now. Should I go back to Argentina and see what's going on there? Anyway, time passed, and then the owner of the company called me and said, what did you decide? Like 6 months later. I said, well, I'm going to Wisconsin. How are you going to get here? I don't know, but I'm sure I'm Mexican. I know how to get there. And what are you going to do? Probably milk cows? Let me make a couple of calls. And then later he called me and say, no, you are coming to work with us. And I say, okay. And he said, well, I don't have any position for you, but we will figure out something. And I said, yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, in 2012, I arrived here, and I have been in the US since then. I also have the opportunity to work as an assistant for the Dairy Producers Foundations for over 4 years. I also help PDPW when they require my assistance. And right now, I work at Groregut Dairy Farm. I have been there for 4 years. I'm the general manager. We are over 51 full-time employees. And my husband, Eric, that is in the picture, and my baby Bo, well, they are my family here, along with other people that I have known through the years. And that's what I do.
Thank you. Stephanie,
Okay.
next slide, please.
All right. Hi, y'all. My name is Stephanie Nash. I'm a fourth-generation dairy farmer from Tennessee, originally from Central California, if anybody knows where Selma is. Connie has known me for a very long time, and my parents, so this is a big treat to be up here with her. So yeah, we'll start kind of how it began and how it's going. So we started looking in 2009 to exit California. My dad had been the dairy representative for the state. He was on Challenge Butter board. I could go on and on about all the boards that he was on, a very wise man, and he kind of saw the shift in California coming, and so we looked in Texas, we looked in South Dakota, Missouri, Kentucky, and in 2012, my dad and mom visited an hour outside of Nashville to Chapel Hill, Tennessee. It was an old walking horse farm. If you guys know anything about Tennessee, it's a big walking horse state. And so the owner was getting ready to sell. His daughter had finished walking horse season, and she was graduating. And so we saw a lot of opportunity to move to Tennessee. It was a top 10 business state, while dairy farming is not extravagant or heavy in Tennessee, we thought that we could make a difference, not only in education, but making a presence with our dairy farm and being accepted into a state. For years, we dealt with activists and regulations in water in California, and so we were just wanting to go to a state that had everything that California wasn't offering. And so in 2013, my dad moved first, and he started building with people from California that knew kind of what we wanted to build. And then right after my third year at Fresno State, I decided that I was going to move with him because I felt like he shouldn't be alone. So my mom and my brother stayed behind while he finished at high school, and I transferred to the University of Knoxville. There I started the Dairy Challenge team, and it was my lifelong goal to win Dairy Challenge, and we won in 2016, so I was very proud of that. At Fresno State, I was Dairy Princess. Has anybody been Dairy Princess in here? There's got to be a couple of you, right? So I got to represent the Fresno County, and was really proud of that. I worked really hard for that, and so there's a lot of monumental moments in my life that have been really big for me of where I am now. We moved about 900 cows with us. My dad said, I'm not leaving my genetics behind. And so we moved about 36 trucks to Tennessee. They stopped in San Antonio, and then they made their way to Chapel Hill, Tennessee. We've been there for 9 years. The biggest thing that we've changed in these 9 years has been a lot of management decisions. California doesn't get rain, so that was very different. We kind of had to adapt. And the last 2 years, we've opened a creamery, so we sell our own ice cream and cheese. Being an hour south of Nashville and having one of the biggest cities with the largest incomes has been really good for us, We've done very well in agritourism, and then also just inviting, families to come on and see our dairy business. It's been a passion of mine to tell people what I do, because a lot of people, especially I would say in Nashville, there's not a lot of dairy farms, like I said, so people don't know what dairy farming is, and so we've had that opportunity. I think last year alone we had about 10,000 people come on a tour, so it's been very successful. And then for me, I run our calf and heifer program, so I oversee about 1,200 calves and heifers on and off site. We have heifers in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Anybody drink Jack Daniels? That's where our heifers are, some of them. And then in Kentucky has been a great change for us. So it's been an exciting journey. You guys can go to the next one if you want. A little bit about me. So I am a country singer-songwriter. I started I've always sang growing up, but Charlie Daniels' godson actually was working at the dairy farm trimming hooves. Isn't that it's just crazy to me. But anyway, so we started writing, and I got into music, and I saw the connection between music and farming and just the American people, just seeing the beauty of our land and what we do. And so I started doing that, and COVID hit, obviously, and so I started seeing, us struggling as a farm, so I kind of went away from music for a little bit. And at the beginning of this year, actually the year before that, a little bit, November, December, I got a call from Fox News to do a documentary about our move from California, how it's affected our family, and how I know it's affecting the whole United States with farmers and ranchers selling out. And so I created a platform. I created a platform that is aggressive, that is passionate, that is a little bit different than some advocates in this room, and that's okay, because I've been a very strong person, a very passionate person, and sometimes, we can get angry and we can get, happy, or whatever our mood might be. We have a story to tell, and I began fighting for the American family farmer and rancher. I would go on different farms and document what was going on. I went to Colorado, I've been to Montana, North Carolina, Oregon. I've been everywhere, and I just want to talk to the farmer and put it out there of what is actually happening, whether that's activists coming in and making regulations, or no water in California. There's a lot going on within our industry, not just the dairy industry, but us as agriculture as a whole. So I just felt there needed to be some more fighters on national news, and so that came To me, being on Tucker Carlson a couple of times, he's a great guy. I love going on that show. And then Turning Point USA decided that they wanted an agriculture ambassador. The 10 years that they have been running, they haven't had anybody in the agriculture industry represent them. And I'm the woman that can take on negative comments and mean comments online, and it's not going to affect me. I'm going to continue to advocate. And so that has given me opportunities to continue to be on Fox News, Newsmax, and other big national platforms. It's given me an opportunity to have cell phone numbers for me to, reach out to other farmers in different areas that really do want to speak on issues. And I think that's a step forward for us. We've never been on national news. We've never gotten, big title lines in the news. And people are starting to see. People are starting to see the shelves were empty during COVID, that farmers and ranchers kept us running, truckers, and, the middle-class economy. And agriculture is not replaceable. I say that all the time. No matter how much they want to say we're replaceable, we're not replaceable. And so with my music, with my advocacy, with Turning Point, they've really given me a voice. I just signed with a company last week for them to push me more on national news and hopefully get more farmers and ranchers on national news with subjects. So that's kind of where we are. I'm doing a lot, but I love it, and I am just grateful for this opportunity.
Very good. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, Lindsay, tell us all about yourself.
You should put me before staff.
Yeah, right.
Way to set that one up, staff. Way to set it up. So my name is Lindsay Fulton Loken. Don't get married when you're 37. It's really hard to change your name. So some of you know me as Fulton. My husband's proud to say Loken now. So I am the local community coined blonde butcher, not by choice, but by obvious reason. I started out in my late teens wanting to work with every famous horse trainer on the planet. I was that horse girl, right? Stay home on sick days and watch all the training videos on VHS. Yeah. So I kind of made that happen after high school, and I wanted to train with everybody from Pat Pirelli to Bob Avila. I made it to Pat Pirelli's ranch, and I tripped and fell running to the bathroom on a break on P-Rock concrete in front of Bill Galt. Fell between his legs, little known. Bill Galt was the owner of Galt Ranch. A massive, I think he's probably one of the largest ranches right now, next to like the 4.6s out of Montana. He picked me up, dusted me off, came watch me ride, offered me a job. A couple weeks later, had called back down to the ranch. So this little Midwest feedlot girl who grew up with a dad as a welder and a mom as a vet tech and my grandfather as a feedlotter, shipped off to Montana to go try my hand at ranching. You can about imagine they called me the lost heifer 90% of the time. One would think I would practice my directional causes before going to Montana, but it didn't happen. Then I was set and prepped to go to vet school. I had finished up my pre-vet. Decided I didn't think I could kill animals for a living. See the irony? Yeah. I ended up not going. I finished my animal science degree at Montana State. Went into the horse world, got a few world titles under my belt, decided I didn't want to deal with horse people anymore, especially the customers. Anybody horse people in the room? You know what I mean. So after that, I had gone into human medicine. I'd become a critical care paramedic. I worked out in Montana and Wyoming, a little bit in Med City. I'm from Rochester originally. I probably should say that. My place is in Wanamingo, Minnesota. That's not Africa, that is Minnesota. It's next to Zumbrota, which is also not Africa, which I get a lot. It's a little Norwegian town with like 2 stop signs, and that's about it.
And a skating rink.
And a skating rink.
I used to go skating at Wanamingo on a bus from Lake City to Wanamingo when I was a kid.
Yeah, so
Small
we
world.
have not met, right?
No, never.
Yesterday she comes up to me and she's like, I'm from California. I said, oh yeah. She goes, you're in Minnesota, where are you at? And she said, well, I grew up in Lake City. And I'm like, oh, I'm from Red Wing because nobody ever knows Goodhue. And then she's like, really, Red Wing? I'm like, no, actually Goodhue. And she goes, I got married at your Lions Club.
Yeah.
I had my wedding reception. I'm like,
That was funny.
you made my town cool. Thank you. Thank you. Podunkville. So after being in paramedic medicine out west was great. You're extremely, extremely rural. You're on your own, you make your own decisions, and then you got to answer to the trauma surgeons when you get back, you know, why'd you cut it off? Well, was stuck under a mine truck, you know, what do you want me to do? No, it was a really great experience, and I kind of hit that burnout factor. If anybody has family in the medical field, especially after 2020, I think we can all relate to the burnout factor. I'd called home in true kid fashion to complain to my dad, and he goes, well, the meat locker's for sale across the street. And I'm like, oh, okay. We had harvested a little bit on the ranch, so I mean, I thought I knew something, but it was complete ignorance talking out of my mouth. I said, okay, well, I guess I'll come home. He's like, listen, the price is right. The previous owner had unfortunately passed away. His wife didn't want to run it. You get one employee that'll stay on with you. We'll liquidate if you fail, okay? And I'm like, sure, you know, but I don't fail, right? Like, stubborn, I'm not failing. I knew nothing. The employee was very, very challenging. You jump in the deep end in a small town. You know, the local farmer would drop their steer off in the morning and go to coffee and be like, oh, I dropped my steer off at Blondie's. So I can't even take claim to the name because the elderly farmers named my place. It would be like, I dropped a steer at Blondie's. So checks started showing up in my register to Blondie's butcher shop. Then the bank called, and you all know the checking lady at the bank in a small town. She's usually a hag or a battle axe, you know? So she's like, you can't, it was Wanamingo Meats originally, and then they'd write to Wanamingo Locker. So I've got like 6 DBAs to my thing just to tick the lady off. Blondie's Butcher Shop has stuck now, and I learned fast that my place is between 2 metropolises, between the Twin Cities here and Med City, Rochester. So I have this really unique clientele in this really unique spot. My town's kind of a bedroom community, so I knew I needed to do something to get attention. So I painted my place pink, right? Like every girl does, you know. But that brought the pressure, you know, you better perform, you better know what you're doing. I had no clue. My employee wouldn't teach me anything, so I told him I was going on vacation, and I went to a neighboring meat locker for a week, and I cut beef for him. Till I came home, because I'll be damned if I'm gonna fail. And some of the pictures you'll see here, this is my medic picture on a Christmas party. I threw a testicle festival in 2010. We did about 2.5 tons of bull testicles. If you need to shuck that many testicles, let me know. I'll tell you the proper way to do it and the fastest way to do it. We had 6 bands. We had Chris Lou's band come up from Wyoming. We had a really great time. Justin McBride came and played. I completely lost my butt on that event, but it's a great story. And then this is just some promo photos. You can flip to the next slide. I don't remember what I gave Renee this morning. So this is my meat locker. I mean, if it's not gaudy, I don't know what is, and they certainly set me on the correct color couch. And they only asked me to come last night, so like this was like meant to be, I feel like. So that is my story. I'll let everybody dive into questions here, and
All right.
we can go from there.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give these ladies a round of applause for coming up and telling their story. Okay, now we're going to get into the interesting part here. I have a bunch of questions that I have for you, and we're going to use the Slido deal. So if you have questions, let me know, and I've got that handy iPad the questions are going to come up, and Amanda promises me that I'll be able to do this. So here we go. So Rosario, you talked a lot about the moves that you made, the physical moves to different country and everything. So where do you find the courage to do that?
To be honest, in myself. Something tells me that it's time to go, or that it is time to move, it is time to experience new things, and I have learned through the years that I need to trust in myself first. There are some times there have been times that I ask for advice for a reduced number of people, and usually it's just to confirm what I think is the correct thing. I love and trust in my parents, but usually what they want is the opposite to what I want. So Myself, yeah.
Stephanie, you've done a lot of things in your life too, and how old are you?
29.
29. I'm 62. I haven't done near the stuff that she's done. So where do you find courage to be an advocate for ag? And how did you find courage, how did your family find courage to move all the way across the states after, I mean, I've known Stephanie, like she said, for a long time. Their family was an entrenched part of California dairy. I mean, they were California dairy. And then when we heard that Nash's were moving, it was kind of like, holy moly, what's going to happen next? So.
Yeah, so kind of like I said earlier, you know, my dad was very involved in everything, and so it was either move or do trees, and I said I don't want to look at trees, I want to look at cows, and so as a family we had to make that decision, sell the dairy or do trees, and you know, luckily it's still a dairy farm, somebody's renting it, so I'm glad it's not trees yet. But the bullet train is going right through it, so probably won't be a dairy farm too much longer. But the biggest thing when I found courage and when I created my platform is when I heard about the bullet train and when I heard about farmers, especially farmers that I grew up with, being owed $2 to $3 to $4 million for that bullet train from the government. And it really gives me a lot of courage and momentum to hear stories. I get stories every week of people selling off or the city not liking the smell of cattle and they're gonna regulate us. It's really disgusting to see, you know, people don't realize where their food comes from. And so my courage comes from other family farmers struggling and, you know, going out of business. We need farmers, we need ranchers, and we just need a powerful voice to just tell the American people what is happening. And so I'm so thankful for this community because that's what gives me courage.
Good, thank you. Lindsay, you've made a lot of changes in your life too, been a lot of different places, done things that, how did you make the decision to do the things that you did? And where did you find your courage?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely identify with both of them. You know, like Rosario says too, you really just have to believe in yourself, and I think we all have those inklings that tell you you need to change or you need to level up is kind of my term this year. Something has to go. For me, life will make it go if I don't pay attention, and it's usually a good knock beside the head. And I'll get into some of those stories when we get further into questions. But yeah, I mean, you just, I think the only thing I have a little different from you guys is I witness a lot of death. I witnessed a lot of death in people that I felt were way before their time, you know. You don't get that time back, and you might as well just check it off your list. And like Rosario said, it was really funny because that was my mom's statement too. You can always come home. And she actually bought me a map, and on the front of it wrote that statement and then wrote what page it is for the roads home. So that was my graduation present. But, you know, don't make it as complex. It's not. It's very, very simple. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's loud.
That's interesting. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's loud. That's interesting. So, do you look to, you mentioned you look to your mom and your parents for some guidance sometimes. Is there anyone else that you listen to, and how do you decide who that is? How do you decide who to trust with decisions that you're going to make?
Well, here in the U.S., I have my friend Deb. Also, I was thinking on that question before, and I was, counting my friends, and like, I don't have a lot of friends or people that I consider my friends. And what is a friend for me is someone that you look for advice. And I think I am a very low maintenance friend. I don't get offended if you don't call me in 2-3 months. I trust on the people that I call my friends, and I know they are busy, I know they are strong, I know they are good, and I know if they need me, they will call. And that's the same. When I am on those critical points in my life is when I call someone and say, hey, can we go for lunch or for coffee? And they know that I'm looking for an advice. And then it's because something is going to change in Rosario's life, that she's looking for something. Or, so I have friends in Mexico yet that I call, and if I have a question about work, how to handle people. I know that I have a couple of friends that are very objective, very professional oriented, and I know those are the ones that are going to help me to find the good answer. And if it's about marriage or kids or whatever, I know I have these other friends that they like that kind of stuff, so I go for them. So, but I also look into the industry for people like every one of you that are in the Facebook page. I look in the Facebook page in the group, and I look what you guys are doing, what you are struggling. So even I don't know a lot of you, you are mentoring me every day with what you do.
Very good. Okay, we're going to go to some audience questions because there's some good ones here. So, how does Stephanie deal with negative online comments? She mentions she doesn't struggle with them. And how did you get to that point where you don't struggle with them?
That's funny. Megan, where are you at? Because you know how I deal with it. She's on TikTok too. I guess growing up, I mean, I don't know if anybody else dealt with this, but being the dairy kid was weird. Like, we talked about this. I talked about this with my FFA class the other day. I was like, it's not weird to love agriculture. It's not weird to want to get manure all over your boots instead of wearing high heels. It's not weird to be passionate about our food supply compared to being passionate about fashion. Like, everybody has their own passion, and nobody should make fun of you for that. And so I guess growing up being made fun of, being the dairy girl, because I went to a school that really nobody did dairy farming. There was a lot of agriculture in the Central Valley, but not so much as dairy farming. And so when I finally found people on my platform that were just as passionate as me and wanted to make a difference, I just didn't let it affect me. There's going to be a lot of negative comments. I mean, Iowa dairy farmer on TikTok, I think he wins the cake because he gets death threats and all of this crazy stuff. Luckily for me, the only time I get death threats is when I'm on Tommy Lauren, but she's a fighter just as well, if you guys have watched her. But just be who you are. Fight back. If you're passionate about something, just to continue to tell the world who you are, what you love, and it's going to spread throughout the agriculture industry. I already feel it. I already feel us making a difference and fighting back. So that's kind of how I deal with it.
Very good, thank you. So somebody wants to know if you fired the guy that was the employee. Yes? No?
Oh.
He's still there today, huh?
No, he left. He said he wanted to try something different. His shoulder hurt him. He moved on. I think in hindsight, being older now, looking back after 10 years, I'm like, I know he felt like he should have been given the place. He had been with the previous owner for a long time, and he was a recovering alcoholic and had a lot of illnesses he did struggle with. So I also struggled with him. We did go our separate ways, but the funny thing is he comes back in to see me all the time when he's in the area. So it's funny how full circle.
Well, you must have been a great boss.
I think it's hard when a little blonde comes in who doesn't know anything and all of a sudden she's your boss. Like, part of me blames him, part of me gives him a little sympathy, but
Yeah. And
he was still a penis,
Sorry?
He was still a penis.
Oh, okay.
We know what
Yeah.
those are, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Somebody just said, Lindsay, you rock that pink sofa.
Thank you.
Maybe you
Thank
could
you.
use this at your butcher shop.
I know, right? Except for I don't have any room for it. They yell at me the way it is for how cluttered it is. But thank you for that. Yeah.
So, Rosario, have you ever regretted a major decision or move or a career change? And if so, how did you pivot to get through it? Yeah, see, we didn't rehearse these
You
questions.
say professional move, right?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yeah, professional or personal,
Personal,
whatever.
yes. I have made a lot of mistakes on my life. Yep. But professional, no. I am where I wanted to be. It took me a long time to figure out that I want to be involved in agriculture. I was 1.5 years as a business administration in college. And then one day I decided to change to agronomy. And then, of course, my parents say, no. The, how do you call the person that gives you orientation in college? He say, no. The director of the business careers say, no, if you change, you're going to lose your scholarship, because I have a really good scholarship. I was in one of the best private schools in Mexico. That was the only way that I could afford college. And they say no, and I listened to them for one more semester. And then we have like a deadline, like I don't know, December 10, at 4 p.m. is your last chance to switch careers, if you want to switch careers. And that was me trying to eat lunch at that date at 3:30, and I was just looking to my plate. I was with one of my best friends, and she said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I have half hour to decide. And I did it. I didn't ask my parents. They didn't know until later that I switched careers, but I knew I was doing the correct thing. So professionally, no. Personal, yes. But usually those personal moments or decisions is because I let myself influence for people and what people wanted for themselves and not for myself.
Very good. Yes, not taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself is just the most important thing. It's like when you get on the airplane, you know, and they give you the safety speech and put your oxygen mask on first before you help your other people around you. It's so important. It works in life. Stephanie, can you answer that question too? Have you done anything that you wish you wouldn't have professionally, what mistakes have you made, and how have you changed and gotten back on track?
Yeah. So I will say, for the longest time, when I transferred from Fresno State, I did feel like I made a mistake, because at Fresno State, I had my friends, I had my family, and even though I was going to help my dad, I felt like I had already been so enriched in agriculture. But I always say, like, you know, God wouldn't have made me move to UT if he didn't have a plan for me there, and obviously he did, because we started a great program and we kind of brought back dairy farming a little bit into the conversation in class. And so that would have been my one regret. You know, I get disappointed a lot, because obviously being part of Turning Point comes with a lot of, you know, negative comments, and I have lost so many opportunities of having deals, and then they figure out that I am the Turning Point Agriculture Ambassador. And it's disappointing, because they're agriculture companies. And for what I stand for and what I'm fighting for, you would think these big agriculture companies would want a powerful spokesperson that is on the news talking about family farmers and ranchers. But the truth is, and what I say on my platforms, you know, there's big corporations in there that represent us, but do they really represent us? Are they putting our faces out there? Because, you know, celebrities are great on a milk commercial, but American moms and dads, and I've learned this in Tennessee, they want to see our faces. They want to know our story. And so my mission is to tell your story. And so I get a lot of backlash from that, but I don't regret one decision of being with Turning Point. It's been a great opportunity.
Great, thank you. How about you?
What was the question again?
The question is,
Just
are
to
there?
be honest here, I get so involved listening.
Yeah,
you
I know. Well, me too. And now Amanda took the question off the thing here, so I've got to just.
Killing us, Amanda.
Yeah, come on, Amanda.
Killing us.
The question is have you had anything that's gone wrong that you had to pivot and make a change, and how did you make that change?
Oh my God, everything. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm not a sugarcoating person, if you haven't figured it out by now. You know, I think you feel like such a failure sometimes, but if I didn't have those failures, I wouldn't be where I was, you know. Did I ever think I'd be a butcher? No, but I killed my husband's beef, and that's how I got a husband, you know. Come to find out, he can't gut anything. That's why he married me. You know, everybody wants a woman who can cut and gut, right? I should have done that in my early 20s. I might have had him sooner.
Hey, yeah.
I know. Except for I got to be the maternal mother, the elder maternal in the labor and delivery ward. I lose sleep at night, and I've been really working on that coming into my 40s now, and having a successful business, finally. I mean, I'll admit that. I've done a lot of things that have not been lucratively expensive or, making money at them, but it's led me to where I am today. Going from, I had a salon in Montana, going to college, ranching. I hit a point in my late 30s where I was like, how does this all connect? How does this make sense? And it's funny now how everything is kind of coming full circle as to why it makes sense now,
Okay, so how did you push through that? How do you push through those feelings of, this isn't working, this is not going to turn out? How do you push through that?
Shove them down. The thing is you all have this, like I have this, because you're here, right? You're wanting to learn, you're wanting to better yourself. If you consistently have the same thought about something and where you think you should be and where you want to be, it never goes away, What's more painful, the regret or the try? At least you can say you tried, right? Yeah, that regret's pretty painful, and especially if you talk to somebody in hospice. That's who you should get life advice from, is somebody in hospice, not me, I didn't want to. I didn't want to be on my deathbed and be like, God, why didn't I do that? Because Joe Schmo didn't think I'd be very good at that, You just keep pushing through. Believe me, there's lulls, The last year and a half have been a lull, and we'll get to that in future questions here. But, you always come out stronger on the other side. I've never once come out weaker.
Right,
So.
right. So, okay, I'm going to follow up. There's a question here. Are you ever afraid of failure? And what scares you? What scares you?
Gosh, I feel like it changes every 10 years. When you age a little more, different things change, right? Now it's something happening to my children, Before it was judgment of people, and I think that's an aging thing that you kind of grow out of. Fear, I've done a lot of practice on fear and trying to figure out what is fear. Can you put your finger on what your fear is? And what's the worst thing that would happen to it? And somebody once told me too, why make up the scenario before it even happens? Because then you got to live through it twice. That one kind of hit home.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Fear is something we all have to deal with, and it's such a made-up mind thing. I don't want to fail again. I don't. I'm not a single crazy independent chick that can just do anything, and if I fail, fine, that's fine. Now I still have to put food on the table for kids and make sure the mortgage is paid, and yeah, so.
Life experience changes.
It changes.
Changes your
But put your finger on your fear.
Right, right. How about you,
Investigate.
Stephanie? What are you afraid of?
Honestly, my biggest fear lately, he's healthy, but it stresses me out, is my dad dying before me knowing the business. That's like my biggest fear because of how far he has come as a dairy farmer and fighting for us to have the dairy farm. I'm not there yet, I'll tell you that, especially the last 2 years with me traveling and doing all this. So the last couple of months, we've really sat down financially, learning the companies he's dealing with. And even though I know a lot of the companies, I don't know everything. We've always done family business separate. So we always worked a little bit stronger separately than together. So with me, I do the cheese and the farm. My dad does the farm. My brother does the ice cream. And then my mom does the retail. And my dad does the hauling company. And so we're all kind of all over the place. So I definitely want to be a wise woman before, it's time for him to either retire or pass away. So that's probably my biggest fear, is not being ready to take over the farm.
Sure, right. Rosario, we have a special question for you. Do you have some suggestions on how to support our international peers, the people that we work with? How can we best support them?
There was one time when someone approached to me and asked me if it was difficult to be a Latina in a management position. And at that moment, it offended me, that comment, because I did not realize that that is how people were looking to me. That's the Latina girl, or that's the Mexican girl. I try to see people as humans. So it doesn't matter if you are white, black, brown, or yellow. Everyone has the same potential if you give the opportunities. I know the person didn't mean it, didn't mean to offend me, but it was a point when I felt bad because I was like, oh, that's all that I am, just a Latina, right? Instead of a dairy farmer, instead of a professional woman. So my advice is don't stereotype. Yes, we are different, but at the end, we are human beings. And if there is people that are interested in agriculture, it's because they have a real interest. And if we allow the opportunities, if we mentor them, if we sponsor them, our industry is going to be stronger. Because that international people you saw with Mary this morning, they are going to be our customers. They are going to be our consumers. There is millions of people here in the US that are not accountable, but they buy cheese, they buy milk, and we need to take care of them, and we need to take care of the people that work in the farms for us.
Very good, thank you. So, Lindsay, what is the scariest decision you have ever made, and how did you overcome the emotion of making that decision?
That was a good one, to get married. No.
I agree.
It was hard, though. It was. And the preacher even warned me. He's like, you do realize you're the independent one of the group here. So, yeah, he told me I was going to have to do better in marriage. But scariest decision.
Does this loop into this question I had for you of what was your worst day?
Oh, yeah, I can answer that question.
Okay, let's do that
To
one.
the day. And I'm totally going to end up on Turning Point after this conversation. So Steph is going to be super excited to hear this one. So my worst day came August 8th of 2021 after I just had my rear end handed to me during this thing called a plague. I don't know, COVID was happening. I was busy killing pigs because the packing plants had shut down. The state of Minnesota was preparing us to back up the grocery stores to feed the general public, right? I mean, it was getting to that level. I learned really fast that every email I was getting from the Department of Ag was basically a hint as to what was coming down the chain in the next 2 weeks. And if you didn't read between the lines, then, you were out. You were going to be damaged. I helped a childhood friend out in his farm. I had reached out to him and I said, hey, I think the Packers are shutting down. I said, if anything happens, give me a call. He's like, no, I think I'm good. I got a load going out and then I should have some time before my next round's finished. I'm like, perfect. 9 o'clock the next night, he calls me and his voice is completely shook. And he's like, they just flipped my load of pigs around on I-90. What can we do? And he's like, it's not your problem. I know it's not your problem. I'm like, nope. Let's figure it out. Have you moved anything to your barn? No. I said, okay, well, unload them, bring me the fattest ones tomorrow, and we'll go, okay? We'll make room in each pen just so we can keep humane levels where they need to be. So basically, we got our rears handed to us. We had 3 phones at the locker at all times plugged in because we would go through cordless phones like water. The phone rang every 6 seconds. I learned really fast that the consumer lived off the top freezer of their refrigerator, and that was all they had for preparedness, right? And when you live between 2 major metropolises, oofda, like in true Minnesota sense, oofda. I learned a lot about the psychology of the human consumer, as well as I don't really care to kill any more pigs for a couple more years. So basically, August 8th of 2021, we were kind of normalizing until my husband called me. And I was at the county fair with a food trailer with some high school kids. He said, are you by yourself? And I said, no. I said, why? He says, I need you to go to your vehicle and get somewhere by yourself. And of course, I'm thinking, who's dead, right? He's like, nobody's dead, nobody's hurt, but I need you to get somewhere by yourself. And I'm like, well, this isn't going to be good because I'm not a super outlandish, breakdown, emotional person. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call you right back. So I get to the car, and in the meantime, I get a text message picture of the front page of the paper. And He said, "They wrote about you, and it's not good." And the headline is Blondie's Bad Business Practices, right? I'm a girl who takes very much pride in what I do, and I will fight you tooth and nail to the end as to what I do as far as environmentally, community, safety-wise, ethical, humaneness. I can keep that sentence going. Here, my city, that is an egg-based city of 800 people, between two metropolises located in the middle of nowhere, had decided that the majority of people that were living there has now become a bedroom community. So what happened during COVID? A lot of people stayed home, right? So a lot of people got to see what happened at the meat locker. Nothing bad, you know, animals come in, they just don't come out. And that hurt a lot of people's feelings in my town, apparently. So the city basically had set up a well, it was a typical city council meeting, but they did not put me on the agenda. But they had everybody else that was after me on the agenda. So I never knew it was about me, even though legally I should have appeared there because it's a public forum, right? I didn't appear, and they all had things to say. And so the neighboring mayor, who also moonlights as the news reporter, graciously put me on the front page in a half-paper article bashing me for every action, you know, whether it was a single gut barrel that was out back that had heaved a little bit so the lid was off. Well, those 2 hogs that I did had broken legs and they were for the food shelf, you know. A lot of greediness, a lot of sadness, a lot of attack that could have been cleared up had I been included in the conversation. So which has led to attorneys, lawyers, and a big fight just to keep my locker within city limits. And it's a problem that we're seeing with not just my locker, but a lot of lockers in city limits, because cities have the ultimate say. The city turned me into the federal EPA, the state EPA, Department of Ag, and Department of Health. I can clear with flying colors on every level, but the city has the ultimate say. So, learned that one the hard way. That's a good fear right there. But, you know, we can talk about leveling up and why I've kind of coined that as my term, as while we're still in this legality fight, and I will fight it tooth and nail to the end, whether I end up losing or winning, you know, what I have coming down the chute and learning to level up and what's your next step is where I'm at right now in the entire conversation. I'm not dwelling on the negative and the attack. It's going to be what it's going to be. I didn't go after it publicly because that only shows more agriculture in the news in a negative light, right? And what do they coin females as in an argument, right? Which I'm pretty sure I have more of a penis than most of the males I deal with on a daily basis. But, you know, they, a lot of the community really didn't know about it until they started reading about it and have really stepped up to kind of protect and fight and be like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? But yeah, the city's trying to get no livestock within city limits, even though there's 2 farms grandfathered. They want no guts within city limits, so they want me to kill and then haul my intestines and blood outside of town. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like fun. So a typical egg issue that a lot of people are dealing with, and I'd advocated a lot like Steph has, but I never really thought I would be in the dwell of it, you know, and here I am. So there's a good story for you.
Right.
My really crappy day.
Yeah. So, Rosario, what is the scariest decision you've ever made, and how did you overcome the emotion?
Marriage was one. I'm a very independent person, and I love my husband. He's a nice guy. But the idea to be tied to someone scared me. The idea to stay here with him scared me too. Because for me, it was like, well, now I can go back to Mexico. I cannot go back to my parents, my friends, my brothers, because I knew that he's he wasn't going to move at that time. Now maybe things have changed, and he has seen a lot of stuff in Mexico that I think he loves Mexico more. That he will probably say, yes, let's go there. But yeah, I suppose marriage was one. The other scary moment or decision was to be involved in his family farm. For years we avoid to do that. So I was in the industry or I was with another farm, but there was a point where it was obvious that I needed to be with him in the farm. That's where I am right now, and that was a very interesting process too, but again, I don't regret because I did for the good for the farm, so.
Right, very good. Okay, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you that. Well, while we're at it, Rosario, tell us about your worst day.
My worst day?
Worst day.
Whew, a lot.
One of your worst days.
One
How's
of my
that?
worst days. I don't want, well, dead. Like 2 years before I moved here. I don't think it was just one day, it was several days in a period of 2 years. Involved death of several people that were very important to me, very young people that I just still don't get it why they are not here anymore, but that's God's problem because he has to deal with them, not me. But I was in a relationship for over 2 years, and then we broke up, and one day he killed his mom and killed himself. Then there was, some comments that if I will stay with him, he will be alive. And I say, well, if I will stay with him, probably I will be dead too. Then 1 year later, I was kind of recovering for that. And one of my best friends was killed in an accident. That was a Friday night. And on Wednesday, the following Wednesday, my dad has 2 strokes. Then 1 month later, another friend, all these friends were ex-boyfriends, of course. He was killed also by the drug cartel. We think, we don't know. And then we have 3 already, and my dad is okay. Then there was a lot of things, and I said, well, I think I need to find a different place to recover, and that's when I made the decision to move to the US. I moved here in December. I was in a relationship, and then obviously because I was moving, we ended that relationship. He got his dream job also in a different state in Mexico, so we knew that, I was in the US, he was going to move, that was not going to work, but we were so excited to see what the future holds for us in our professional lives. And then on January 10, like 2 weeks, well, 1 month after I moved here, he drowned in the sea too. So, yeah.
Tough days.
Yeah, so tough days.
But look at her, here she is, right? Stephanie, what's the scariest decision you've ever made, and how did you overcome the emotion of that?
Gosh, I really don't know. I'm kind of like them. I'm very independent. I stay busy. Everybody's like, when do you sleep? And I said, I don't. It's fine. We'll just keep going. I've always lived off that lifestyle, was a year-round swimmer, and, just an athlete, and obviously showed cattle and all of that. But I don't know. The scariest thing for me, I don't know if it's a scary moment or just a time in my moment when I didn't think who I was, is I was in high school. I was a junior. My mom's parents, I was at their house almost all the time. My dad came from a family who was 15 years younger than his siblings, so I wasn't really attached to that side of the family, and his dad died when I was 1, so I really didn't know much of them. But my mom's side I was very attached to, and so my junior year, my papa passed away, and I think that's why I ended up starting to sing, because I saw You know, if I didn't take that opportunity, I might have been like kind of like before, maybe regret a little bit. But he was the person that really just wanted me to succeed, bought me my first truck, and knew that I would do big things in the dairy industry. And so I wish he was here. But that was probably, you know, the scariest day, is just him leaving this earth, and so much I could have learned. You know, he was still young. I think he ended up being 73, so still young. But yeah.
Very good. So that would be your worst day. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Did I do something, Amanda? Or all my questions are gone? That's okay. I've got more. Let's turn things around, and let's say, what was your best day, Lindsay?
Okay, I got this.
Sorry?
I got this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Phone rang in 2020. It was August. We're in the heat of pigs and really challenging consumers. And the phone rings, and I answered, and I'm like, Blondie's Butcher Shop. He's like, hi, this is David from National Geographic. And I'm like, cute, click. Like, I don't have time for this crap. Phone rings again. Lindsay, it's David. Please don't hang up. I'm seriously, I'm from National Geographic. And I'm like, okay, keep talking. I'm listening. You have my attention, you know. He's like, Mike Patterson sent me. Mike Patterson is who I was killing pigs for, right? Mike, when he had called me at 9 o'clock at that night, I'd said, you know, throw it on Facebook. Let's just see, you know, if we can flip some custom hogs and just get rid of them. Throw it on Facebook. In the middle of the night, I had to get up and shut every device off that had Facebook attached to it because it was ting, 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 ting. I think by that night, I think we had 750 shares to flip hogs, right? Well over the hogs we had to flip. And it went around to PBS, and I think it hit Fox News, and then National Geographic called, and they wanted to photography and film the pig farmer, the small processor backing up the big packer, you know. Well, Swift wasn't really interested in that conversation. Shocker. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, come on down, you know. So I called the Beef Council, the pork producers, the dairy group, and I'm like, here's the deal, National Geographic wants on the kill floor. What do you want me to do? You know, I'm like, my shirt's gonna stay on, so, you know, they're gonna wanna see something with substance. Not like they're used to. So the pig producers were mad. They're like, show them everything. I'm like, oh, anybody seen pig slaughter before? I mean, it's like Carrie at the prom, if you're my age. Anybody? I'm sorry, you younger ones probably don't know who Carrie was, but I mean, it's a bloodbath. Pigs suck. They're messy. It's not pretty. So I'm like, well, here we go. My issue still has not come out because there's this Floyd guy that kind of took my thunder, and a few other worldly things that happened. But basically, the story is based on following COVID through the heartland and its effects on the food supply. The pork producers and the beef producers came down the day National Geographic came, and the photographer actually spent 3 days with us. He was great. Pulled up an electric car, and I thought, oh my God, here we go. Here we go. So this is talk about thinking it might be your worst day ever. He was amazing. He was, I can't get the pictures or anything. I did send Renee one of the pictures. Renee, are you back there? Do you have that picture of me in the middle of the street with the carcasses? I really thought she'd put that one up, but apparently she's PGing it. I told the photographer, I'm like, hey, I want to make a splash your National Geographic. Let's do a good picture. I wanted to be loud in the moment, and in that moment, I called friends in. They brought me 2 pigs, and they brought me a beef, and we harvested them. And we hung the beef from a loader in the middle of Main Street, we put it on a cradle in the middle of Main Street, and then hung 2 pigs from the loader. And I stood in front of it on a dead, vacant Main Street where every business was shut down except for me, right? It's a cool picture. I wish I had National Geographic's one because he droned us and had all the fancy cameras. I also did the following week get a call from the Department of Ag because 20 people had turned me in. And, the Department of Ag's like, what do you have to say for yourself, Linz? Which they know me very, very well now because I'm always the girl that carries a dead pig through the state fair to cut it on a stage or something. So I get in trouble a lot. But I said, I'm really sorry in this scenario. I'm going to beg for your forgiveness because I sure as heck was not going to ask for your permission. I'm like, National Geographic's never going to come see me again. So if you want to find me or put me out of business, let's do it. And his comeback to me was, he's like, Lindsay, I completely understand. Will you just send me an email from now on so I can fend off phone calls? So he gets phone calls and emails from me constantly, dragging a pig through the state fair, just letting you know. So I'm that butcher in the state of Minnesota. So that was my really great day. It has not come out yet. I keep getting trumped by worldly events, but I hope one of these days to see it. And I hope it's a good angle he got pictures at. Yeah.
Rosario,
Yeah.
what's your best day?
I'm trying to think on that, yeah. Probably one good day for me at the farm is when we don't have any scours on the baby calves. So everybody drank the milk and everybody's okay. Maybe this is dumb, but I'm trying to remember that totally feeling of happiness is the first time that I saw snow. Yeah, that was
First time she ever saw snow. Ah.
that was a very happy moment for me.
Okay, Stephanie, give me your best day.
Gosh. I mean, I'm going to kind of go off Lindsay here because the last 2 years have absolutely changed my life. Like I said earlier, growing up, I never knew really my identity. I never knew where God was going to place me within our industry. And I'm so glad that Fox called us 2 years ago in November to do a documentary because it got the dairy industry's voice out there. It was apparent, just like Lindsay said, during COVID, farmers were struggling. And the news is not going to tell you that. You're going to have to find that out from your rural communities. You're going to have to find that from your neighbor. You're going to have to be there when mental illness is huge in our industry and they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. And so that is why I started my whole platform again, was just to tell people what is actually going on in Colorado Springs, or what is actually going on in Billings, Montana, or what is actually going on outside of New York City. It's more than just the cities. It's more than just the American people just seeing videos of celebrities or what's on the news. There are actual family farmers and ranchers out there struggling. And so every opportunity I've had to be on news, I've called my dad's best friend, I've called Ryan Jacobson, the CEO of Farm Bureau in California. I want to continue to grow and educate myself, so when I get on the news, I'm saying what needs to be said for you guys as farmers or ranchers, and I think that needs to be just out there, that we save agriculture and we save our livelihoods, because it's not just a job, and I say this all the time, it is our life. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, I had a bunch of other questions, but you're just going to have to ask them yourself, because we catch them in the hallway because they tell me I got to quit now. So one of my questions was, how do you maintain balance? This is maybe something you can think about for yourself. How do you maintain balance in your life when you're taking all these risks and all these changes are happening? What do you do for exercise? What do you do for nutrition? How do you deal with your family? How do you sleep? Boy, sleep for me is a big deal. I don't get enough sleep. I just have a hard time sleeping. What hobbies do you have? How do you set goals? And how do you keep your friends and maintain your friendships? One big thing for me is, how do you control your self-talk? Because we've all got that voice in our head that tells us all kinds of stuff. And how do you take a difficult situation and turn it around in your head to be a good thing, and to quiet that stuff flying around in your head? I have a very hard time with that. And I would challenge you to just sit in a room sometime with no phone, no TV, no magazines, absolutely nothing. Nothing to read, nothing to do, but just see how long you can sit with yourself and not let your mind race. if you can try it, do it. And I think you'll be surprised how short of a time it is before things start flying around in your head. And the good thing is that then you practice quieting that mind again and having that quiet confidence. That's how I handle facing change and taking risk, is I'm a, oh my God, this is gonna happen in a year, but I need to live one day at a time. Sometimes I live one moment at a time. I have a family member who is in recovery from drug addiction, and I have learned so much about that whole thing, and being still with yourself, and accepting that it's one day at a time, and that's all we're gifted with. So with that in mind, I was going to have them do final statements, but I think we've heard so much from you. We really appreciate you coming up here, bearing your souls, telling us about yourself. Some of it was funny, some of it wasn't so funny, but I think we've got a good, understanding. So I'm going to end with one thing. Change is inevitable, right? I'm 62. I've seen a lot of changes in my life, but I'm so thankful for all those changes. And I see now that those changes are important to me and to my family. There is risk, but risk is manageable. You know, bad things happen, good things happen. And, you know, sometimes it's almost harder to manage those good things than it is to the bad things. So keep your head on your shoulders, be still. Enjoy your life one day at a time. So let's end with one thing. It's called the Serenity Prayer. I don't know if you know it or not. But God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you very much for your attention. You've all sat here way longer. The clock says 0. Christy's standing over there. Amanda's going like this in the back, so we're done. But thank you very much for listening to us today.
Thank you.
Connie, Lindsay, Stephanie, Rosario, thank you. Thank you to Seal Pro for sponsoring this panel. Thank you, ladies, for, as Connie mentioned, opening up with this group. Your grit, your passion, your vulnerability, your resilience, and your willingness. On behalf of Dairy Girl Network, thank you. As we begin to take a little break and perhaps spend some time over in the showcase, because the showcase will be open during our reception time before we come back in here for dinner at 7 o'clock, I want to share just a couple of things. I would like for you to think a little bit about the minutes and the moments together today. And in Slido, on your phone, before you come back for dinner, I'd like you to put one word that describes something that either you're feeling, you're taking away, you've captured, or something that really resonated with you today. As you come back in here for dinner, that word creation will be up on the screen. You're going to start to see the different moments and minutes and takeaways from everyone that's here. So please take that opportunity to share one word. Amanda has expressed to me, please, just one word of how to describe your moments and minutes here today. A couple other things. There was a request for those of you that didn't have the opportunity to do headshots. You can click on the QR code that's on the little pop-up tent on your tables if you want to. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have some open slots for some more headshots. There's no charge for that, so if you still want to do a headshot, please go ahead and do that. In addition, if you do have the time, the availability tomorrow afternoon for any of the post-conference sessions, we do have a few slots and spots that are open for both of those. They are outstanding. So if you have the ability to stay and desire to stay, yes, you can. We just need you to go to the registration desk and let the gals know behind there. Tonight is going to be entertaining. Hands down, entertaining. It's going to be fun, and it is going to be a little bit about sisterhood. Be prepared for the Dairy Girl Network Tonight Show when you return. Let's enjoy the time to do some time in the showcase, a little downtime, and we'll see you back in here at 7 o'clock.